So this is what you get when you look at the past 2 years of sales on Bring a Trailer and Cards and Bids for the Z4 E85, E86, and Z4M. So you can see, just looking at the data like this, there's not a whole lot of information you can glean from it without breaking it down a little bit more. The data is somewhat limited. We're really over 100,000 miles. They just don't have a lot of sales on these sites. I suspect you're probably seeing that more on Facebook Marketplace, other online retailers. The other online sites that might give you an estimate for a car value really aren't helpful for this kind of vehicle. Putting in the car into Kelley Blue Book, JD Power, you get value substantially lower than I think what's reflected in what people are actually selling them for. So this is what I was most interested in, why I started looking at this, with the value of an E86 coupe, and I was interested in, is it beneficial to actually do a manual swap to see if you're going to be getting some value? And I think there's some benefit here. So I've got a car with about 100,000 miles. And from looking at similar sales, you're seeing probably a difference of about $5,000 between autos and manuals. And if you have a lower mile version, you're probably even looking at more close to 7,500. So I think if you can do it within that range, I think it'd probably be a worthwhile endeavor for you. As for the Z4M, they're obviously substantially higher in price compared to a similarly priced coupe. Pretty much all these were for sale with a manual transmission, so you can't make much of a comparison between the manuals or automatics. The most recent sales over the past year was pretty much seeing everything in this 30,000 range compared to what I've been selling for in the previous years. And of course, the coupe is commanding a fairly substantial premium over the convertible, especially at the lower mile range. This is showing again the premium that you get for having the E86 coupe compared to the convertible, which you especially see a far higher premium at those lower mileage ranges. And I try to ask the same question of, is it worthwhile to do a manual swap on an E85? And I think here the answer is almost always no. Probably the one exception is the ultra low mileage cars. We're talking less than 10,000 miles here. You can see that there's some of the sales of the manuals are commanding a substantial premium over just the similar automatic. And lastly, this is looking at cars for sale based on whether they're the 2.5i, 3.0i, or 3.0si. Especially the lower mileage, again, the nicer versions are getting a fairly substantial premium over the 2.5i, but once you start getting up the miles, you see it's less and less. And I suspect if there's more data here, that I'll probably kind of plateau around $4,000 once you really start getting up there. So there's a whole lot more spread here, especially compared to the Z4M and the E86. So for instance, two cars here, I mean, both with 60,000 miles, one of them selling for 8,000, the other one selling for 18,000. And this is kind of the things you expect of why there was that much of a difference. One of them was manual versus auto. The nicer one had great maintenance records, better options, no crash history. And I think some of this probably comes down to just right car, right buyer, right location. Hope this is helpful. I'll attach a link to the actual raw data so you can try and make it a little more searchable if you're trying to look to sell your car.